Picture this. A man with piercing blue eyes and a cold, calculating demeanor strides through the streets of Prague, his shadow looming large over a city under siege. Feel the tension? This is Reinhard Heydrich, the so-called Butcher of Prague, Adolf Hitler's right-hand man and one of the most feared figures in Nazi Germany. His reign of terror sparked a daring plot, a mission so bold it could change the course of World War II. Ready for a wild ride? Join us on Real World Channel as we unravel the thrilling, tragic, and morally complex story of the assassination that shook the Nazi regime. Let's dive in. It starts with a man who could have been an artist. Crazy, right? Adolf Hitler, a young dreamer with a passion for painting, poured his heart into vibrant landscapes and detailed sketches. But the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts saw it differently, rejecting him twice, crushing his dreams. Ouch. Bitter and disillusioned, Hitler abandoned his brushes and turned to a darker canvas, reshaping the world through war and conquest. By 1939, he'd ignited World War II, his name synonymous with unspeakable atrocities. But no dictator rules alone. Here's where it gets intense. Like ancient warlords with loyal lieutenants, Hitler had his inner circle, and none was more trusted or feared than Reinhard Heydrich. Who was this guy? Born in 1904 in Halle, Germany, Heydrich was a paradox. Tall, blonde, with an icy stare, he embodied the Nazi ideal, yet his past was far from their propaganda. A talented violinist and competitive athlete, he once swam and ran in national competitions. Impressive, huh? He joined the German Navy in 1922, rising to lieutenant before a scandal. A messy love affair got him kicked out. Talk about a fall. Undeterred, Heydrich found his calling in 1931 when Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, recruited him for his cunning intellect. This is where it gets dark. Heydrich's ruthless ambition propelled him to lead the Gestapo, Nazi Germany's secret police, earning him nicknames like the Butcher of Prague and, chillingly, the Man with the Iron Heart. Heydrich was no cartoon villain. Lean in close. He was a master manipulator with a photographic memory for people's weaknesses, political, personal, or otherwise. Like a wolf among wolves, he dominated through fear and strategy. By 1934, he orchestrated the Night of the Long Knives, purging Hitler's rivals with brutal efficiency. In 1938, he spearheaded campaigns against Jewish communities, and in 1939, he staged a fake attack on a German radio station to justify invading Poland. Devious, right? By 1941, at just 37, he was appointed protector of Bohemia and Moravia, a critical industrial hub for the Nazi war machine. Here's the kicker. In January 1942, Heydrich chaired the Wannsee Conference, where he laid out the final solution to exterminate Europe's Jews. His power was second only to Hitler's, making him a prime target for the Allies. Enter the resistance. In London, Edvard Beneš, the exiled president of Czechoslovakia, burned with rage against Nazi occupation. Feel his fury? The 1938 Munich Agreement, which allowed Germany to annex Czech territory, had left his nation fractured. Beneš saw Heydrich's iron grip on Prague, where he crushed resistance, jailed intellectuals, and deported Jews, as a direct threat. Something had to be done. In October 1941, Beneš greenlit Operation Anthropoid, a daring plan to assassinate Heydrich, led by two Czech paratroopers, Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš. These guys were fearless. Trained in Britain, they parachuted into Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia in December 1941, despite a snowstorm throwing their drop 80 kilometers off course. Talk about bad luck. Undaunted, they linked up with local resistance and began plotting the most audacious hit of the war. Why target Heydrich? He wasn't just Hitler's enforcer, he was a symbol of Nazi invincibility. In Prague, he ruled with a twisted mix of cruelty and cunning. Get this, while massacring resistance fighters and deporting Jews, he boosted workers' rations and cracked down on black markets, winning over some Czechs, especially ethnic Germans who supported Nazi ideals. Clever, but sinister. His success made Beneš fear a permanent German hold on Czechoslovakia, especially if the war's tide turned and peace talks loomed. Here's the gamble. Beneš believed killing Heydrich could spark a Czech uprising, proving to the Allies that his people were fighting back, even at a horrific cost. Now, the plan. Finding a chink in Heydrich's armor was tough. His Prague castle headquarters was a fortress, swarming with guards. His mansion, seized from a Jewish businessman, was equally secure. No easy target here. Gabčík and Kubiš spotted a weakness: Heydrich's arrogance. Can you believe this? He often drove through Prague in an open-top Mercedes, no escort, convinced no Czech would dare touch him. Big mistake. The paratroopers studied his route, choosing a sharp hairpin turn on a hilly Prague street where his car would slow to a crawl. Perfect ambush spot. With help from local informants, they finalized their plan for May 27, 1942. Picture the tension. On that fateful morning, Heydrich was relaxed, unaware of the storm coming. He'd spent the morning with his wife and 3 kids, strolling his estate's gardens, preparing for a meeting with Hitler in Berlin. He thought he was untouchable. At 10:32 a.m., his Mercedes approached the ambush point. Gabčík and Kubiš, disguised as civilians, waited with a 3rd resistance member signaling Heydrich's arrival. Heart pounding yet? Gabčík stepped into the road, aiming a Sten gun at the car. Click! The gun jammed. Disaster! But Heydrich made a fatal error. Instead of speeding away, he stood up, drew his pistol, and challenged Gabčík. What was he thinking? Kubiš seized the moment. Here's the climax. He hurled a homemade grenade, but it missed the car's interior, hitting the side. Boom! The explosion shredded the Mercedes, sending shrapnel into Heydrich's back, piercing his spleen and stomach. Ouch! Blood streaming, Heydrich and his driver, a burly SS officer, stumbled out, firing wildly. Kubiš, his face bloodied by debris, fled on a bicycle, weaving through a crowd at a tram stop. Gabčík, cornered by Heydrich's gunfire, ducked behind a pole, trading shots until Heydrich collapsed in agony. Chaos everywhere. The driver chased Gabčík into a butcher shop but lost him in the streets. Bystanders flagged a passing truck, rushing Heydrich to a hospital. He was hanging by a thread. Did it work? The grenade's shrapnel had torn through Heydrich's ribs, lodging metal and horsehair from the car's upholstery in his spleen. Despite surgery, infection set in. On June 4, 1942, Heydrich died. Mission accomplished, right? Not so fast. The aftermath was catastrophic. Brace yourself. Hitler, enraged, unleashed a reign of terror. Thousands of Czechs were arrested and political prisoners, including the Prime Minister, were executed. A 1 million mark bounty was offered for the assassins, with threats to kill entire families aiding them. It gets worse. The village of Lidice was obliterated. Men shot, women sent to concentration camps, children given to SS families or killed. Another village, Ležáky, suffered a similar fate. Heartbreaking, isn't it? What about the assassins? Gabčík, Kubiš, and their team hid in a Prague church's crypt, sheltered by a brave priest. Talk about courage. But betrayal loomed. A fellow resistance member, under pressure, revealed their location. On June 18, 1942, 700 SS troops surrounded the church. Imagine the fear. A fierce 6-hour battle ensued, with the paratroopers hurling grenades and firing until their ammo ran dry. Refusing capture, they took cyanide pills or shot themselves in the crypt. A tragic end. Their sacrifice and the priests was later honored, with the crypt now a museum in Prague. Was it worth it? Historians still debate. Here's the rub. The assassination didn't spark the uprising Beneš hoped for, and the Nazi reprisals were devastating. Over 5,000 Czechs died in the aftermath. Yet it sent a shockwave. Listen to this. The Allies, inspired by the Czechs' defiance, scrapped the Munich Agreement, recognizing Czechoslovakia's pre-war borders. Heydrich's death exposed Nazi vulnerabilities, shaking their sense of invincibility. A bittersweet victory. At Real World Channel, we've explored similar bold acts, like resistance movements in occupied Europe, showing how courage can shift history, even at a cost. One final thought. The assassination of Reinhard Heydrich was a desperate act of defiance against a brutal regime. Feel the weight? It reminds us that even in the darkest times, ordinary people like Gabčík and Kubiš can challenge evil, though the price is often steep. Stay curious, keep questioning, and let's uncover history's next untold story together. What's the next mystery?